What's good, everybody? It's the Cloud with Cap Show. NFL Week 7 was awesome. Shout out to my Indianapolis Colts getting a big win, even though it's against the trash Miami Dolphins without Tua. But Tua is coming back. That is huge news for the Miami Dolphins. That's great news, even though Tua looks like a vegetable out there when he gets hit. Looks like one more concussion, really can, paralyze this young man's life. We want Tua to make sure he's healthy and he's okay. I don't want him to go paralyzed for the rest of his life. But that's the chances you take of playing football. You have a risk of going paralyzed. That's just part of the game. That's part of the NFL. That's part of football. So with the Colts winning, shout out to Anthony Richardson getting a touchdown, finally getting back in that rhythm, even though they only put up 16 points. Even though I do think Joe Flacco looks like a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson, but the Indianapolis Colts realize, hey, we're looking at this as a long-term thing for Anthony Richardson. Joe Flacco's just the heat of the moment right now. He's old. Even though he looks locked in right now, he still looks like the Joe Flacco from the Baltimore days when he won a Super Bowl. Crazy how that works, right? But shout out to my Indianapolis Colts finally getting a big win. Now the Indianapolis Colts are hitting the hard part of their schedule. Play the Minnesota Vikings, play the Houston Texans. It's not getting any easier. If the Colts want to make a deep run, they need their best player in their lineup, and that's Jonathan Taylor. Without Jonathan Taylor, they don't win out. I'm telling you right now, they don't even make the playoffs without Jonathan Taylor, so they need him back in the lineup. And then we had the London game, the New England Patriots versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I had the Jaguars in this matchup. That bet hit. Trevor Lawrence played pretty decent, 193 yards and 1 touchdown. If you had him over 200 yards, you had to be sick to your stomach. He literally only passed the ball one time after the third, 2-3 minutes left in the third quarter. He only passed it one time the rest of the game. Pretty crazy, right? Literally, he was right there to go over 200 yards. It could have hit, should have hit, but it didn't. Tank Bigsby, though. Shout out to Tank Bigsby. I picked him up in one of my fantasy leagues. He went crazy, 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Shout out to Tank Bigsby. Even though I had him on my bench, I still won. So, Tank, you're going to get the start from here on out for the rest of the season. What I've seen from Tank is nothing but spectacular. Hard running, just going straight north and south, making people miss, just playing hungry. Playing hungry football, and that's what I want from the running back. Like Tank, I want them to play hungry. I want them to go the extra yard. I want them to keep trying hard as they can. I love that. Shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars getting a huge win. And then I had the Buffalo Bills over the trash Tennessee Titans. Had Buffalo all day in this matchup. That was just one of the easiest picks all weekend. Josh Allen, 323 yards passing with 2 tutties. You had Ray Davis had scored a touchdown. Actually, Ray Davis was a third-string running back last week. Had a great game last week. Got in some reps this week. Keon Coleman, 125 yards receiving. And it was all Buffalo. It really was. We look at Tennessee and realize, yep, they're the worst team in that division, in the Colts division. It's pathetic. With Houston, it's just Tennessee. They don't have a quarterback. Will Levis, he's trash. He's been out. They started Mason Rudolph, and Mason Rudolph is just trash as well. Literally just completely garbage. But shout out to Buffalo Bills, man. I'm telling you right now, Buffalo Bills adding adding Amari Cooper is huge for Josh Allen. That's the player he needed. Ever since Diggs left, Josh Allen, yes, he's played good here and there, but he's not been the same. He needs a dynamic receiver, and Amari Cooper is that dynamic type of player. I love Amari Cooper. I can't wait to see what happens with him, but I love the Buffalo Bills right now. They're on a roll right now. They are 5-2, and they're on the outside looking in, and I can't wait. Obviously, Josh Allen understands I got to beat Lamar, and I had to beat Patrick Mahomes and possibly Joe Burrow in the playoffs to make the Super Bowl. So it's not getting any easier for Buffalo Bill fans and Josh Allen. They need to lock in. What a huge win it was. Then we had the Houston Texans losing to the Green Bay Packers. For my Indianapolis Colts terms, this is a great loss for the Houston Texans. Now they are 5-2. Green Bay is 5-2. This game was really down to the wire type of game. C.J. Stroud had an okay game. Joe Mixon, 2 touchdowns. Typical Joe Mixon. If you have Joe Mixon in your lineup in fantasy football, you're most likely winning every other week. Joe Mixon, he's going to put up double figures every single game this man starts. So shout out to Joe Mixon, 2 touchdowns, 115 yards rushing. And then you had Jordan Love. He had 220 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 picks. Romeo Doubs, 94 yards receiving. Josh Jacobs, 76 yards. rushing. But overall, I'm looking at Green Bay and saying, yeah, there's a lot of inconsistency here and there. Even though Josh Jacobs, he did what he needed to do. He did get a touchdown, a receiving touchdown this game. I should have bet on Josh Jacobs to score. But every other week that I bet on Josh Jacobs to score, he's always failed me. So, like, this is the first week Josh Jacobs scored in over a month. So, like, am I surprised? No. Like, you're a running back in the NFL. You went to Alabama, Josh Jacobs. You're supposed to be scoring literally every single week. Like, once in a month is not that good, but shout out to the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they're on a roll right now. Jordan Love is looking locked in. And when they drafted Jordan Love, when Aaron Rodgers, at the time I didn't really understand. I was like, why would they draft Jordan Love? They have Aaron Rodgers still, but looking at the bigger picture, it makes sense why they went for Jordan Love. It makes sense that they realized, hey, Aaron Rodgers only has about 3 or 4 years of his prime left, and then he's going to be out of Green Bay. Fast forward 2 or 3 years later, now Jordan Love's taking over the spot, and he's looking nice. So the Green Bay organization made a great pick on picking Jordan Love, but at the time it was bad. But, you know, come to think about it, 4 or 5 years later, it cashed out. It hit. So shout out to the Green Bay Packers getting a huge win at home against the Houston Texans. And then we got the Philadelphia Eagles beating up on the New York Giants. I knew this was going to happen. I knew Saquon was going to eat. That's why I had him anytime touchdown. He had 176 yards rushing on 17 carries. This was Saquon game. You know, we look at the New York Giants and realize the organization let once-in-a-lifetime generational talent slip out of their fingers. And that's Saquon Barkley. Was in New York. I don't know what happened there, but they let that go away. And literally Saquon now is with Philly, and it's just capitalizing. It's like, how are the New York Giants that dumb to let Saquon Barkley go? Like, this guy is once-in-a-lifetime talent. I'm telling you right now, as far as I'm concerned, he's the best running back in the NFL. Saquon Barkley's my number 1 running back. Yes, I'll put number 2. I'll put King Henry. I'll put Derrick Henry at number 2. I put Saquon at number 1 just because of how he makes people miss in the open field. Yes, Derrick Henry has that ability, but I'm just saying explosiveness, just that agility that Saquon has, it's just once in a lifetime. It really is, man. I like Derrick Henry and Saquon, my top running backs in the league this year. And then I'd probably go with Joe Mixon. I mean, we look at Joe Mixon. Yes, he missed a couple games, but Joe Mixon, as far as I'm concerned, every time he starts, he's putting up double figures. Shout out to Joe Mixon, but shout out to Philly. Even though Jalen Hurts, he had a pretty decent game, I do think Jalen Hurts and his head coach need to get more locked in. I don't know what it is. We saw the Philadelphia head coach after the game bickering at some fans. I don't know what's going on with Philly, but right now, Philly, they should be way better than what they are. You know, they really should. They should be well more prepared. It's just, I don't know what it is on the offensive end. I don't know what it is with Jalen Hurts and the offensive coordinator, but right now it's just not working. They look like they're one of the, you know, teams that are very unprepared each week. Even though they are getting wins, you know, against the trash New York Giants. But overall, I'm looking at Philly and saying, hey, bro, like, you guys should be better than 4-2 right now. That's just how it is. Like, Philly should only have 1 loss on their record, but they don't. But shout out to Saquon Barkley. Without Saquon, Philly is not above 500 team right now. I'm telling you guys right now. And then we had the game of the week, the Detroit Lions versus the Minnesota Vikings. I went heavy on Detroit. I went all in on Detroit. That bet hit. I'm telling you right now, Detroit is legit. They have so many stars, so many weapons. Even though David Montgomery was hurt for a little bit, you had Gibbs scoring 2 touchdowns. St. Brown scored a touchdown. Jared Goff had 2 touchdown passes. You know, Sam Darnold had a touchdown and an interception. You know, Justin Jefferson did what he does, 81 yards receiving and a touchdown off 7 receptions. But I'm looking at Detroit Lions and realizing, hey, they are a Super Bowl caliber team right now. Their defense is nice. Their offense just has so many weapons. Literally, so many weapons. You have David Montgomery, who was banged up, who'll be back. You have Gibbs, that 1-2 combination running back, arguably the best in the NFL. You have St. Brown. You have Jameson Williams, who's dealing with a 2-game suspension for violating some type of policy from the NFL. He'll be back. Jameson Williams was drafted in the first round in 2022. A little bit shaky start from this young man. You know, was suspended. You know, he had the ACL injury last year, missed 11 games. Or the year before, but looking at Jameson Williams, he just got to stay positive. He's only like 23 years old, dude, like super young. He just needs to stay positive, have some good role models around him because the sky's the limit for Jameson Williams, dude. I'm telling you, they need Jameson Williams if they want to win a Super Bowl this year, absolutely. But shout out to the Detroit Lions. We know Detroit's a legit team. They're going to win out. They're probably going to get home field advantage, and the rest is history. So Detroit Lions right now, literally everything set up for them to make a deep playoff run this year yet again. Even though last year they blew it against the 49ers. But right now, I'm telling you, Detroit is back. And they're hungry. They're more hungry than they've ever been with Dan Campbell. Even though they had a fluky fake punt in this game, I'm telling you, Dan Campbell and company, Detroit Lions knows what they had opportunity last year, and they're going to capitalize this year. I think Detroit could easily make the Super Bowl this year and make a huge run in the playoffs this year. Why not? They have so much talent on both sides of the field, so I can't wait to see how that plays out. And then we have Seattle beating up on the Atlanta Falcons. I probably had Atlanta in this matchup, but I'm surprised. Seattle just really just overtook them. I didn't think Seattle was going to continue the losing streak they were, so it made sense for me to go Seattle right now. I mean, Geno Smith, 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker had a touchdown. DK Metcalf had a touchdown. So all their best players balled out this game against Atlanta, whereas Kirk Cousins had 2 interceptions. Now Kirk Cousins, the human Kirk Cousins, is finally coming to realization to say, hey, I mean, is Kirk Cousins really that guy? Yes, he threw for over 500 yards. Yes, he had great fantasy points. I get all that. But to win you a Super Bowl, is Kirk Cousins the quarterback to win you a Super Bowl? And the answer's always been the same. No, Kirk Cousins is not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's just not, dude. There's no way around it. Like, we could say this and that, but at the end of the day, Kirk Cousins has 0 Super Bowl appearance, 0 Super Bowl championships. So is it going to happen this year? I doubt it. But shout out to the Seattle Seahawks getting a big win on the road. And then we got the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Cleveland Browns 21-14. This was a very close game. Really closer than what I expected it to be. Joe Burrow had 2 tutties. T. Higgins had a touchdown. Deshaun Watson's out for the year with an Achilles tear. He's done. His season's over with. And for Deshaun Watson, it sucks. But I think this young man's career is over with. I do. I mean, yes, he could come back next year, but it's going to be a long shot with all the lawsuits that he's dealing with, that he had to deal with. It's just taking a toll on his mental, and it's taking a toll on his body. He's had, surgeries in the past before Houston. It sucks, man. Deshaun Watson, I mean, it could have been what could have been, right? Deshaun Watson had a great, rare talent, looked like a bright young man, and then all these allegations came out, with the massage parlors, all this other stuff came out to where it was like, well, is this really Deshaun Watson here? Look how he's playing now. Ever since all these allegations come out, he just really just folded. Like, he just hasn't been the same person whatsoever. It's like, that's not Deshaun Watson anymore. That's a completely different person. I don't know who it is, but the Cincinnati Bengals had to win this game, and they did. Joe Burrow, I mean, their season's not getting any easier. They're going to have to continue to go on this win streak if they want to make a deep run in the playoffs this year, and it all starts with Joe Burrow and company. And then we had the Carolina Panthers getting blown out by the Washington Commanders 40-7. It was crazy. I mean, even though Jaden Daniels did get hurt this game with a rib injury, that is week by week, day by day. So Jaden Daniels will be back. If he's not back week 8, he will be back by week 9 or week 10. So all the fantasy people who had Jaden Daniels, no need to freak out. He'll be back. He's just dealing with a slight rib injury. Brian Robinson Jr. had a touchdown. So it was all, we look at Carolina, they're 1-6. They have Andy Dalton. They're done. Their organization right now in Carolina, they're completely trashed. They're garbage. Nobody really cares about them whatsoever. So, shout out to the Washington Commanders. Continue to win, and they'll evaluate Jaden Daniels week by week. Like I said, he'll be back in a couple weeks at tops. So no need to worry or stress about that. And then we had the Las Vegas Raiders losing to the LA Rams. I had LA Rams in this matchup. They barely won by 5 points. Matt Stafford just 1 interception. Kyren Williams, 2 touchdowns. Kyren Williams, one of the arguably top 5 running back in the league. As far as fantasy terms, Kyren's got to be in that conversation. Shout out to Kyren. I mean, he just balls out, man. He has 8 touchdowns this year, tied for first as a running back. So shout out to Kyren Williams, the ex-Notre Dame boy. Hey, wish him the best. I mean, he's doing well in the NFL. And shout out to the Rams. They had to win this game. Sean McVay understands, hey, I got to go on a win streak if I want to make a playoff push this year, and it starts now. And then we had the Kansas City Chiefs beating up on the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers, man, they're banged up with some injuries. George Kittle is out with a foot injury. Debo has pneumonia. He's out. And then you had Ayuk, a season-ending ACL injury. I was surprised they even signed him this offseason. I feel like he wanted out of San Francisco from the get-go. Then he just tears an ACL week 7, out for the rest of the season. That's it for him. And then you have rookie Purcell come in, the guy from Florida. He ended up getting shot in the chest about 2 months ago. He's back in action. Shout out to Purcell, man. I mean, a beast he is. Just a rookie, but as far as I'm concerned with the 49ers, man, you're on the outside looking in. You need McCaffrey. You got so many injuries right now. It's crazy. I mean, are we talking about this 49ers that might not even make the playoffs now with all the injuries they're dealing with? And it starts with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy did not have a good game whatsoever against the Super Bowl rematch. He had 3 interceptions, so he just had a goose egg, and Patrick Mahomes had 2 picks. So both quarterbacks did not play well whatsoever. But I'm looking at the bigger picture for San Francisco. You guys are 3-4 right now without your best player, McCaffrey, still. When's he going to come back? You don't know. You're dealing with all these injuries, season-ending injury from one of your core receivers in Ayuk. He's done. That's it for him. So I just think for 49ers, man, you guys are going to have to go week by week right now, whereas Kansas City, they're 6-0. They are 6-0. I don't think Kansas City's going to win every single game. They're going to lose a game here or two. But right now, Kansas City, they have a great shot to three-peat this year. The only team to ever do it would be Kansas City if they do three-peat. The only team ever in history of the NFL. Wow, that would be crazy if they end up doing that. And then we got the New York Jets getting blown out by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was surprised on this. I had the Jets. I thought the Jets would put up a better game, but we realized Aaron Rodgers is washed up now. He has 2 interceptions. Breece Hall had a touchdown. Russell Wilson actually had a decent game. 264 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Najee Harris had a touchdown. George Pickens had a touchdown. It was all Pittsburgh here. And I'm looking at the Jets and realizing, their season's probably over with. Even though they just have added Devontae Adams. It's just, I don't know what it is. You guys only have 2 wins this year. You literally are going to have to win out. You're going to have to win every single game, maybe lose one more game, and that's it. So, for the New York Jets, it's a long shot to make the playoffs this year with Aaron Rodgers. And I'm just not sold. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I do think he's washed up at this point. Just doesn't move the same. Just moves kind of awkward and just weird. And it's just like, oh my gosh, dude. Looks like he hasn't hit the gym in a couple of years. It just does not look like Aaron Rodgers-esque like. That's all I'm saying on that. But it sucks, man. It really does. But shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers getting a huge win on Sunday Night Football. And then we had the Monday Night Football game. We had the Baltimore Ravens beating up on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers kind of blew this game. Tampa easily should have won this game if it wasn't for Baker Mayfield's 2 interceptions. And one of them came crucial in the red zone in the first half. You just can't do that. And we look at Baker. Yes, he's had a great season. 370 yards passing in this game. 3 touchdowns. 2 picks, though. You cannot have these interceptions against the Baltimore Ravens. They're going to make you pay for that. Lamar Jackson, 5 touchdowns, just straight balled out. Lamar Jackson, another MVP type of year. He might win MVP yet again. I just think for Lamar Jackson, he understands that I had to beat Patrick Mahomes to win a Super Bowl. That's his only mindset right now. He could care less about these regular season awards. I think Lamar's focused in right now on Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City when they match up in the playoffs this year. That's all he's worried about. Derrick Henry, 169 yards rushing. Bateman had a touchdown. And we saw Chris Godwin, he had a touchdown. They called it back on a holding call. Mike Evans was hurt, I think, with a hamstring injury, dealing with that. So that's going to be interesting to see how Tampa moves forward. They need Mike Evans. Mike Evans scored his 100th career touchdown of his career. 11 seasons in the NFL, over 100 touchdowns. It's pretty crazy. Mike Evans is a future first-round ballot Hall of Famer. I can't wait to see that young man get in. Every single year, he's putting up crazy numbers, over 1,000 yards receiving every single year. He's been in the league since he got drafted in 2014. Shout out to Mike Evans, man. Homage for him. And then we had the Chargers losing to the Arizona Cardinals on the last slate of the Monday Night Football game. The Cardinals won 17-15. And I'm telling you, Kyler Murray, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. You had James Conner, over 100 rushing yards. Justin Herbert, 349 yards passing. And that's about it. It was really 2 mediocre teams. I wouldn't say the Chargers are a great team right now with Justin Herbert. They're still trying to find out who they are, trying to find out their identity. Are they going to be a good playoff team this year? It's going to be a long shot, but I can't wait to see how that develops. But what a week 7 it was for the NFL. Man, my Colts won. You had the Broncos win the Thursday night game. You had the Houston Texans lose in Green Bay, which was huge. You had Seattle on the road beat Atlanta, which was a huge game. And then you had the Lions going on the road against Minnesota, the undefeated team. The Lions put it on them. My thing is the Lions are the real deal. Even though they're not undefeated, I'm telling you right now, if the Lions continue to get better each and every week, the Lions will make it to the Super Bowl this year with head coach Dan Campbell. They just have too many pieces on that roster to not do it. I'm telling you right now, but hey, a great week for me, a great week for my Indianapolis Colts. It's week 7. It's the Cloud with Cab show. Let's go!